What I want to talk to you today about is the third wave of enterprise communication. I think arguably we live in the greatest time for enterprise communication. I think Alan talked about the fact how we are transitioning from essentially on-premise to cloud. Amazing group of companies are all jumping in because they're realizing communications is so critical. It is shifting essentially from being a utility to a critical functionality that will determine the success and failure of enterprises. That's all great. But I do want to put it in perspective. 2007, exactly 11 years, 2 months, and 2 days ago, Apple launched the iPhone. I, like a lot of you, probably thought it was a toy. There was this iPod thing to look at music or listen to music. Great. There was a phone. I had a phone. Everybody had a phone. Great. There was this internet communicator. There were a lot of companies that kind of had that as well. And his genius was he put it all together. And bluntly, this device has become core to the way we live, work, and play today. It is the primary way that we engage with the outside world, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, partners, vendors. It is the system of record which we use to access all our relevant information, whether it's financial or anything else. And it also is our quote-unquote pseudo decision-making capability where we can tie all of this information together and make decisions. I'll give you a simple perspective. It hit me yesterday. By the way, it seems like people in California, and I'm from California, I don't think we know how to tell time. I got a call yesterday at 1 o'clock from my accountant. It's tax season. Everybody's freaking out. All the tax laws have changed. He wanted to figure out, there was this one particular investment I made in Europe multiple years ago, whether to write it off or not. It was quite interesting. Literally, out of bed, access your iPhone. I was able to pull up the funding documents from several years ago. They didn't totally seem relevant. In real time, text the person, the CEO of the company in Germany, ask him to take a picture and send it to me of the latest balance sheet, share it with the accountant, FaceTime everybody, make a decision, go back to bed. It happened in minutes. That's essentially what personal communications has become today. And again, this started in 2007. Business communications, not so much. That's what business communications looked like in 2007. As a matter of fact, a lot of it still looks like that today. I use that primarily as a paperweight. I think I have a phone. It's somewhere in my office. Every once in a while it rings. Often it goes to voicemail. Sometimes I check voicemail. That used to happen in 2007. It happens today. I check it more frequently now because there were a few voicemails that I should have checked, particularly related to a Valentine's Day dinner that I still regret. But the issue is, that's what this is, single channel. Video conferencing at that time was not much better. You had to have a device, somebody else had to have a device, you had to make sure that the two devices worked together, and after 20 hours of some poor IT guy really futzing with it, you could see the other person. Then you stopped using it. Became very expensive paperweights. Customer support, same thing on premise. Worked. You could reach the person more often than not. The 3 most fearsome words in the English language, I don't know, is what you would hear from the call center agent. It was there, worked, good stuff. Companies did a great job of basically creating a capability and satisfying a need, but it was a utility. Very excitingly, then you had that second wave of enterprise communication, which started mid-2000s. Whole series of companies came into existence which took these point solutions and took them into the cloud. Exciting stuff. Suddenly, your mobile device, your desk phone, and your soft phone were all tied together. Great. You had contact center. You could basically have that in the cloud. You had video conferencing. You could do that from your laptop. You had collaboration tools. All great. Proliferation of new technology, clearly a significant improvement in terms of productivity over the legacy PBX systems, clearly lower cost of ownership, and easy to deploy. Golden age. Minor problem. And this happened to me in my last company. Everybody started, okay, you have this particular office. They went with this particular phone system. They went with HipChat for engineering. They went with Slack in marketing. They went with Chatter for sales. None of these things tied together. Different systems of records from different companies, different video conferencing solutions. Some using one from one vendor, some using other from another vendor. A lot of proliferation, no tie-in. And so in essence, what happened is what normally happens when you start to disrupt a market. The same technology gets moved into the cloud, which is truly disruptive, but exactly pin-for-pin compatible with what previously existed. This, unfortunately, this hit me hard because I used to run a multi-billion-dollar company years ago, and I had a call from a customer. And unbeknownst to me, this customer had talked to several of my employees, and it had to do with a particular feature that he needed, and I had been promising. And by the time he got to me, he had heard different versions of the story from different folks, and I had no knowledge of that, so I gave him what I thought was a version that I thought was accurate. Turned out it wasn't accurate. 15 minutes of blistering conversation later, I had a whole lot less hair and a newfound belief that you need to tie all of these technologies together, or you would end up doing the same old, just doing it a little bit cheaper, a little bit faster, a little bit better. Which is why 8x8 and what we're doing is so exciting. The reason I came here is because it is my belief that in essence what you have to do is tie all of these technologies together. That you have to basically kill the silos between a contact center and your overall company. That you have to have conferencing solutions that basically tie into your telephony solutions, that tie into your contact center solution, that tie into your analytics. So that in essence you have one system of engagement. Voice, video, text, by which you talk to your customers, your partners, your employees. One system of record that you can access from all the relevant ERP systems, and this accessible to all the people necessary in order to do their job. This becomes more and more fundamental in the way we do business. I think this hit me the other day with regard to, I think all of us, most of us, have had quarterly targets. I think most of us run public companies, and it's amazing how it is the so-called tyranny of the quarter. There was a customer that had called us, I think in our December quarter, and we got the call. The amazing thing with a system like this is the customer escalated to me. Sales had already committed that this was going to be a closed deal, no issues. By the time the customer reached me, out popped every email interaction this customer had had with every person in the company, the last few Salesforce interactions that he had had, so all of his recent records, and the Jira tickets of all of the areas that he had angst. I suddenly looked really smart. I was able to answer his question. We were actually able to close the sale. And I was able to keep my job, which is kind of nice to have. But the idea is, think about this. The ability to tie in all of this information so everybody in the company can access the same information, the ability for employees to be able to reach a subject matter expert so you can resolve the problem and or answer the question with one call, the ability to have all of these various systems integrated together so that in essence you can make a decision. By the way, this is no different than what the iPhone did in 2007. We're finally getting there today with enterprise communication. It's an exciting time because I think about the kind of problems that all of you have and that I have every day. Customers call. Often you'll have a customer in a particular instance where a customer had called. It was actually a small family office. However, they were a very big investor in us. They called our support desk. In real time, our CFO was plugged in. In real time, she approved an extra couple of phones, probably $80 each. And in real time, the customer was extremely satisfied. All of this would have taken multiple calls, multiple back and forth, some angst, escalation, all of that happened seamlessly because your communication systems now has become one system of engagement, one system of record, and the ability to tie in intelligence so all the relevant folks can make decisions. So to tell you this is not a fantasy, this is what we'll show you. We have a booth here, and I'm a big fan of real stuff. We have several employees that actually got their acting chops, it seems like, because they'll play different roles. They'll play customers, they'll play agents, they'll play executives. But the idea is your customers, my customers demand something. My customers demand that, in essence, no matter what, they can reach me on any channel, voice, video, text, and I respond. No matter what, they should know the history, or I should know the history before I respond to them of the last few interactions and who they are. No matter what, I have to try and resolve the problem in the first call, because nobody wants to keep being told, I told you so. And more importantly, they want me to start anticipating their problem so they don't have to call me. And oh, by the way, my employees demand that, in essence, in order to make sure that they have a productive environment, that they have access to all of the relevant information and all of these relevant channels and access to all the subject matter experts so they can satisfy their customers. And oh, by the way, your customers could be your employees. Customers now have choices. Employees have choices. Communications is no longer a utility. Communication becomes something that is so fundamental to the way you do business that, in essence, it can be the difference between success and failure. And I can give you a whole series of examples of how, by blurring all of these lines between what was traditionally a PBX, what was traditionally a video conferencing solution, what was traditionally a contact center, can fundamentally change our productivity. Case in point, how many of you have had conversations with vendors in particular where you wish you had recorded it? Every call center records every call. But what if in every call, even for the simplest phone system, I gave you the ability that you could press a button and in real time it would transcribe the call for you, what you said, what your vendor said. And you can send a copy of it to them, copy to you, record. That's a traditional telephony system. That's actually a traditional telephony system redefined along the way you do business. That's what I think communication becomes. You have to tie in the context. You have to make it multi-channel. You have to have that underlying data layer of every real-time interaction so you can use machine learning and artificial intelligence to predict and prevent problems before they happen. That's the exciting time. Let me show you a little bit on a video. So if you could roll that tape.
Engagement is a series of moments of connection. Of context. And collaboration. Moments of insight. And improvement. These moments define the experience, and the experience is everything.
And that's what I want to get across. Ultimately, every engagement is a series of moments. You want your communication system to ensure that those moments matter. And that's what we hope we can do with RX. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Vik. We've got a couple minutes for questions. I want to ask you a variation of the question I asked Alan, which is, the bane of everybody's existence going back through the PBX years is an M&A, or is something where you've got your system and it's working and it's integrated, and it's at least as much integrated as you're going to get it, but then your company buys somebody else and you've got a whole other philosophy, maybe certainly a whole other set of vendors. What does a company do in the kind of future world you describe when those things continue to happen?
Great question, Ari. So think about it this way. By the way, I finally found a reason for our name 8x8. There are 8 versions of X. And the idea is you can go from simple telephony to a full-blown, fully integrated customer experience. And the idea is, depending on the maturity level of the customer's needs, some are looking just to modernize their systems. Others are looking to optimize their process. Another set are looking to totally transform their businesses. You can pick and choose amongst all of these and move up or down depending as your needs change. And in some instances, you'll integrate with somebody else's PBX. In other instances, you may integrate with somebody else's contact center. But to me, it's all about making sure that the customer gets value from a system like this and a migration path to full transformation.
So the job is still the same. It's integration and it's working through it. It's just potentially the options and the functionality is what you can do in the cloud.
Exactly.
Okay. So I mean, you talked a lot about experience. How does the audience think about the ROI of improving experience?
So the framework I use is you can break companies down and their needs down to 3 different things. At a macro level, they may be just looking to modernize their infrastructure. Typically, by moving to a cloud, modernizing your infrastructure could be anywhere from 10 to 30% improvement in cost. Others are looking to optimize their business processes. And so those companies can get another 10 or 20% valuation. The one that I haven't fully figured out is this whole transformation, which is, think about what communications can do for you. It's almost the Uberification of a company. Your customer support department now is a series of generalists that can access employees all around the company for a fraction of their time to solve a particular problem, and you essentially have shared resources. That could have a massive transformational impact. Then add one more. Every real-time interaction that happens in the company, every voice, every video, every text, every call recording, all of that resides on our platform. The ability to use that to make business decisions can be huge. When you have the blue plate special, this particular blue plate special, demand spikes. On the other hand, when you have that other blue plate special, demand goes down. Maybe you want to staff your restaurant differently.
Okay, got it. Well, Vik, thank you very much for your talk. I enjoyed it, and good luck.
Thank you.